let's take the big picture first. If we have a Harris presidential win, we're going to see a pretty status quo environment here in the U.S., which is ongoing support of decarbonization. If we have a Trump win, then you would expect that to pull back some. When we think about how the majors are playing here, for the most part, the U.S. majors are slow followers in the decarbonization process. They're spending a lot of money, billions, but they're spending much more on hydrocarbons and fossil fuels. So they're slow followers. I think they'll be players in decarbonization over the next 20, 30, 40 years. It will be a much bigger part of their business. They're going to baby step their way in.
Related to the elections, Dan, got to ask you, we're, what, about 43, 42 days away from November the 5th. And, of course, gasoline, as always, is very politically important. How are prices shaping up? I just took a look at the national price. It's, what are we at, about $3.20 a gallon?
Depends on where you are, of course. That sounds like about the right number. That's pretty constructive. What you don't hear on the list of gripes from American voters or consumers is gasoline price. There are other things that are higher on their list right now. And so I would say that net gasoline price is not a big issue. You do hear the candidates talking about their energy plan. Trump says drill, baby, drill, and he's going to get energy costs down. I'm skeptical that he'll have a meaningful dent on gasoline prices. I don't think a Harris presidency would push them up dramatically. Supply and demand wins. It's a pretty balanced market. And so that 320 number shouldn't be a big factor going into the U.S. elections.
Dan, just before we go, where is the LNG ecosystem in the U.S.? Because they've really started to become quite a force, and the Ukraine energy crisis showed us that. But we have delays in the permitting. Woodside are now going all in with buying Tellurian. How is all of that shaking out?
Yeah, LNG is going to be a big business here in the United States over the next 20 years, and that ramp in LNG supply coming from new projects being turned on, it's been delayed. It was a 24 story that's turned into a 25 story that's slowly turning into a 26 story. So we think that although these big projects are having some slippage in terms of turning on, they're going to be a global force in the marketplace. So U.S., Qatar being the two biggest players. So I think you're going to see the U.S. as a more meaningful LNG supplier really over the next couple decades, a big player, albeit a little slower than hoped, given some of these delays.